I'm excited that today is the day where we get to chat about all the fun things that you've been doing at Vicor. So, why don't we
Yeah,
start with you giving us an overview on what you're doing now at Vicor and perhaps what you love the most about it?
sure. So Vicor, as you probably know, is a power-only company, right? We specialize in power delivery, and the company's been around for a long time. I mean, established in the early '80s, the pioneer of the DC-DC converter brick, which pretty much everybody has copied in the industry. And that market has really gone to more of a, I would think, a commodity type of place
Mm-hmm.
with doser and polar pinouts where people, copy each other's pinout. And
Yeah.
Vicor is not really known for a commodity product. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
fun thing for me about the company is the technology and the innovation that Patrizio Vinciarelli, our CEO, really brings to the table and drives the company on. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
constantly inventing and creating and coming up with new power architectures, power switching topologies, control systems. And I tell you what, I mean, some of the creativity that's gone into the packaging
Mm-hmm.
of our power products is just incredible. It's amazing, and we have a factory just down, 4 miles down the road here that makes our chip products, our DC-DC converter products, and it's an exciting place to visit. I go down there and see the new packages that are being developed and manufactured. So for me, I'm right in the thick of being part of technology and innovation and
Mm-hmm.
solving our customers' toughest power delivery challenges. That's the exciting part
All right.
of what we do as well. Yeah.
All right. And from the what about from the global marketing angle? So how how do you go about conveying this to your target audience, electronics engineers and system designers?
So we have, I guess, different channels sort of to customers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's deal with sort of what I call. So we have a 5 layers of growth strategy that I
All right.
put together for the company 10 years ago. Okay.
Okay.
So the 5 layers are the following. So the first layer, layer one, is our existing customer base.
Mm-hmm.
And those customers have been very loyal to Vicor, buying our bricks, which
Mm-hmm.
we sold for over 30 years now. That customer base is about, I would say, about 12,000 customers worldwide. And the majority of those customers outside of North America are serviced by distributors. Okay. So obviously, as we come forward with new products and new technologies, we do a lot of communication and marketing to the channel, to the big distributors, and also we have a number of local distributors too. So we are selling through a channel. So obviously, you've got to get the sales guys at the channel excited about selling Vicor and knowing how to sell Vicor.
Okay.
So we do a lot of work, messaging, communicating, training. We have a sales tool that they use,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can be effective in front of our layer one customers and talk about the new products, not just bricks, but our new products. So we do that. Layer two is the new customers that we want to come to Vicor, and we want them to come to Vicor because we want them to purchase our advanced products. These
Okay.
are the leading edge products. And in many cases, the distributors are playing a big role there too. So they're helping bring us customers that we don't sell to today, but they sell to through all the different lines that they carry. So they're bringing those customers to us, and we engage on finding the right match for Vicor.
All right.
Because again, we're not selling commodities, so we're looking for customers that have tough power delivery challenges. They need density, they need efficiency, they need very high power in a small space, and so that's what we do there. Our layer three strategy is big vertical markets like data center, artificial intelligence, like automotive, like the satellite constellations of satellite markets that we've just entered, And so we're looking for very big vertical markets with big players like Google, like Nvidia, like General Motors, like Mazda, Honda, those types of companies that we want to engage with. And then layer 4 is about new product introduction and the processes around that. So that's layer
Mm-hmm.
4. And then layer 5 is our brand. Who is Vicor? And we've been trying to move our brand from a brick supplier. If you asked anybody about Vicor 10 years ago, they would say brick company, high priced, military, aerospace, defense. Today, if you ask many customers, they would say high performance analog semiconductor power module company competing with TI analog devices, Linear Tech, Maxim, Renaissance. We've moved the brand.
Mm.
And so we're moving the brand to a different place. And so that's our 5 layers of growth strategy. And so we go to market through the channel, and we go to market very direct with FAEs and with salespeople that are spread amongst now 15 offices worldwide that we have.
All right.
We call them TSCs, Technology Sales Centers, because we are selling technology. So everybody's pretty much an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got very strong engineering background, and we've got very strong FAEs and labs. We've got really great labs in our offices to support customers. So that's how we go to market. So sorry, long answer to your question, but hopefully
Yes.
that explains what we do.
Yeah, this explains it in detail. That's pretty good. So, but it brings to mind 2 questions. So, one is before your appointment at Vicor 10 years ago, during that initial interaction that you would have had with Dr. Patrizio. So,
Yes.
what really got you saying that this is what I want to make a difference for the next 10 years? Back when.
I came from, I had a couple of stop-off points, but I really
Mm-hmm.
came from analog devices. That's
Mm.
really been the majority of my background in terms of growing as a marketeer or as a sales guy, or how to work with customers and how to work with people and get the best out of people. I would say analog devices was my really formative years of,
Okay.
building my capabilities as a VP, if you
Mm-hmm.
like. And analog was built on a foundation of technology and innovation. Ray Stater, his background, his capabilities, and he and Patrizio have many of the similar traits in terms of that. And that's what attracted me to Vicor. When I first met with Patrizio, I could see his commitment and dedication to technology and innovation, just like I'd experienced and seen with Ray at Analog Devices. I mean, 2 great guys, 2 amazing contributors to the technology and the semiconductor industry. So that's really what that got my attention, and it got me really excited about coming to Vicor.
All right. When you mentioned ADI, I just remembered. So there was this recent release where I think you hired another VP for corporate marketing. I'm not sure who's also from ADI.
That's right.
20 years. Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yes. We just hired David Krakow. He came
Yes.
from Analog. David and I worked together for many years there.
Okay.
And so some people, as Analog has done its acquisitions, Hittite and then Linear Tech and now Maxim, there are people, who, decide that it's not the right place for them. They want to join maybe a smaller company and be more effective. And I was fortunate enough to pick up, David there, who had decided to take on a new challenge. And I actually have probably another 3 or 4 ex-ADI guys that I worked with working at Vicor in different positions. And again, the same reason I joined, they joined. It's technology and innovation and a commitment to doing things differently. And selling a product, it's not easy what we sell. Selling a customer on changing what they do today to something completely new with a different approach, a different supplier, is not easy. It takes a long time, but it's hugely rewarding when that happens. And then that customer is typically joined at the hip with Vicor for quite a while, because they've made a big commitment to a new approach, a new way of doing things.
Right.
And so you form really long-term relationships with customers, and that's a great thing too in terms of the human interaction, the human side of it, right?
Yes.
So yeah, that's a wonderful thing, and it's very similar to what happened at ADI.
So I think you started your marketing career about 35 years ago. And so when you, what got you interested? What got you attracted into marketing back then?
Oh boy, I think for me it's always been about I love conversation.
Okay.
I love talking with people, and I love the whole aspect of exchanging views and ideas and opinions, if you like, right? So I have a set of opinions. They're not always right, but they're my opinions. And I also feel that when you have a technology and you have a company, you're obviously trying to project that to the world and to a very sort of individual point of view at the customer level. You're talking to engineers and management team and so forth. So those conversations are really the fun part of the job.
Okay.
Interacting with people and engaging with people. I've always enjoyed that part of it. And marketing and sales, that's the
Yes.
perfect way to do that. As an engineer, sometimes you're stuck in your lab, and I've been an engineer. You're stuck in the lab and your head's down and you're working on something. It becomes very sort of individualistic in some ways, even though sometimes you're working as a bigger team.
Yes.
But being out there and just visiting customers and seeing their world and their challenges, and marketing and sales gives you that great opportunity, to do that.
You must have a really extroverted character trait.
Yes, yes, you
Yes.
have to have that little bit of an
Yes.
extrovert. Yes, the introverts don't do well in sales and
Correct.
marketing. Although, FAEs, I've seen some introverted FAEs, and sometimes they're really good. But it's tough to get them to project in front of a customer,
Yes.
which you need them to do sometimes. But yeah, you have to have that extroverted side
Right.
and enjoy people and enjoy
Yes.
conversation.
And so, what are your views about how digital media has affected marketing? In the sense that I've seen certain firms, especially agencies, more than the brands themselves, having a lot of um, analytical people sitting around to figure out, what the most optimal way to send out a campaign is, and all the usual digital marketing elements that have come in over the last 10, 15 years.
I would say that is one of the areas where Vicor has to really grow its capabilities. I mean, we've done a reasonable job of it, but that was one of the reasons of bringing in David from ADI.
All right.
Is that he's been heavily involved in digital, marketing, as it were, and the use of digital media. So I'm excited about what David is doing. He's only been here, 4 or 5 months, but he's already started putting plans and changing the way we look at that, looking at new tools that we can use and so forth. So that's a full force effort by him to change that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring him in, was to bring someone with that capability and experience. But that is huge for us in terms of an open field for us to really do much better in getting our brand out there and getting information out there to customers who haven't really thought of Vicor or using our power modules. And and so many young engineers now are using that as their source of information. We have to really step up our game, in that area. So I'm looking forward to seeing that evolve. It's exciting.
And I think he's doing a pretty good job because because from what I've heard from our teams working with Vicor, a lot of the metrics that have been used to calculate whether a campaign is successful or not, they've improved a lot over the past 6 months. I think it used to be more about effort, but now the tracking of results and how the whole analytics came at Vicor's website is running, that's pretty good. So that's a good start for
Yeah,
sure.
he's looking to. Yeah, exactly, and he's looking to strengthen our team as well by bringing in some new people
All right.
with skills that we are I wouldn't say missing,
Mm-hmm.
but bringing in people who have done it before and
Mm-hmm.
understand how to get it done is going to move us faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the team will benefit from that, and also help grow their skills and capabilities.
Yeah.
So that's a big commitment from us over the next number of years. Digital marketing and digital media.
Yes. And another question. So over the last 30-35 years, how have you seen the marketing for high technology, kind of change? So how have you seen that
Yeah.
evolution?
So that evolution has been very interesting. I think unless you tie that evolution to the buying journey of your customer, or the
Mm-hmm.
journey that your customer goes down to make a decision from the start of a project to the selection of all of the different components, as well as the architectures of the system and the performance of the system and so forth. If you look at that journey has changed dramatically. It's enormous change for our customers, right? So as a marketeer, as a salesperson, you have to map your company to that buying journey, if you like. We call it a buying journey, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's not buying people doing it. Their policy purchasing is involved, but it's engineers and it's marketing and sales of end customers, right? If you look at that, that's changed enormously over the last 10 or 15 years. And so as a person involved in marketing and sales, I've been involved at ADI and now at Vicor in mapping the company to that journey and trying to provide um, solutions, right, to the customer's tough problems. You really got to identify the problems that they are facing in that journey and try and offer value from the very beginning to the end. Because of digital media, because
Mm-hmm.
of the internet, um, all of the data suggests that most engineers, most companies are 60% down that buying journey
Mm-hmm.
before they even contact a company,
Right.
right?
Yes.
They're doing their research online. They're looking at what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking to people. They're about 60% of the journey before they even contact you. And then when they contact you, you're like one of like 3 to 5 companies that they're contacting. So now you're in a bake-off. You're trying to now pitch your product at that point of 60%. When, as a marketing sales guy, I don't want to do that. I want to start right up here, right? I want
Mm-hmm.
to be influencing and providing solutions and challenging the thought process of why change and why Vicor at the very beginning of that journey. And the further up I can come, the better chances I have that I'm going to get selected further down
Yes.
that journey of the customer. And so knowing and recognizing that and understanding that allows us to map our sales and marketing strategies to that journey and how that's changed and where engineers and companies are getting their information from,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think the
Yes.
most successful companies going forward will be the ones that don't not only have the technologies, but do that the best.
Yes. I've seen Clubhouse, the app from last year, the new social media app from last year. So over the last, I think, 1 or 2 months, um, I've seen a lot of electronics engineers get on board that, where they're having a lot of discussions about different embedded systems and sometimes on the development side, but sometimes on the hardware side as well. Any plans by Vicor to build communities on networks like these?
Yes, we've talked about that, and one of the places in the world that the communities are very, very strong. I'm not saying that
Mm-hmm.
they aren't going on anywhere else, but
Mm-hmm.
in China, we noticed that was, with the WeChat, for example, right?
Yeah.
And, the evolution of that in China. I mean, that's been a huge success for us. We've seen, our brand in China grow quite rapidly because we targeted that WeChat area.
Mm-hmm.
And, we market to that and to communities that have set up off of that in other areas. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, absolutely. That's again another area that David is looking at.
All
And
right.
working with our regional marketing people, because one of the changes that we made about 8 years ago, was
Mm-hmm.
all of the marketing was done from here. It was centralized.
Okay.
And, I recognized early on that, you've got to have marketing resources in the region swimming
Yes.
with the culture, with the channels, with the way people are communicating and understanding that. Because, if you look from China to India to North America to Europe, or even countries in Europe, they're doing things differently. And so you have to be in there and swimming with the people and understanding those things so that you can adapt, how you message and how you market and how you sell. And
Mm-hmm.
so we push that out to the regions and establish these sales offices and also staff those sales offices with marketing people that have that, DNA, if you like, of how to message, how to position, and how to brand
All right.
to the target customer base.
Okay.
So that's something that we're going to continue to do and find the right platforms for us to get our message to those communities. And it's something that we learned early on in China, as I mentioned.
All right. So when you measure all these campaigns across the world and the regional campaigns as well, any set of metrics that are used to measure whether they're winning or not? Is it going to be entirely on the buying angle, or would it be kind of a mix? Maybe visits to the website mixed with actual purchases happening or engagement with Vicor support?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's really insightful. I think that I think all of those things, right? In terms of looking at your metrics are very, very important. All the way, from how we look at what we call funnels,
Mm-hmm.
which are from opportunities to what we call a project registration,
Mm-hmm.
where we are registering a project that is something we want to put resources on because, again, it depends where in that buying journey that project is. But sometimes they're so far towards the end that I'm just giving a price, and that's not good.
Right.
So some of them are very early on, and that's where we want to be. So we're tracking those funnels. We're looking at metrics across the funnel. To your point, we're looking at the website traffic. We're trying to look at what companies are coming to our website that then can map to those projects that we have. We're then looking at customers in the website that map to campaigns that we're running. For example,
Okay.
we're going to be looking at a robotics campaign in Q1. We're running it
Mm-hmm.
now. So we want to look for robotics companies, coming to our website or even contacting our sales offices or our distributors. And so we've got a whole stack of things that we're going to be improving on
Mm-hmm.
in terms of looking at data so that we can fine tune all of these different pieces of all of the different resources and skill sets that we have and how we position, message, and brand the company. So yeah, great question.
When your teams interact with different partners, or even if when they run direct ads on through Google or LinkedIn or whatever, um, so how is there a has there been a polished way to kind of convey your target audience so that media partners don't confuse it with the entire spectrum of electronics and embedded system engineers, but maybe some just that subset that is closer to the kind of engineers that can actually influence a buying decision for your modules?
Another great question. That's an area that we've got a lot of work to do in. I think that's a very, very important, I think, next step for us
Mm-hmm.
is to really hone in how we're going to market as such, right? Because we've moved from being a brick supplier with the 10,000, 12,000 customers. They're not commodity products by any means, but they are. We have thousands and thousands of part numbers. I mean, different input voltages and output voltages, and
Yeah.
we've moved the company to being more application specific, standard products, but application specific products. Looking at different power delivery networks in an automobile, electric vehicle mild hybrid, or a data center using an Intel processor or an AMD, or even a GPU or an ASIC. So we're mapping power delivery networks
Mm-hmm.
and looking at where we can intersect, right, with our technology roadmaps. But then the piece of that that's going to be critical is identifying, decision makers and influencers in companies that haven't looked at building power delivery networks with power modules. The biggest market for us to grow into is the discrete and controller market, which is where, Linear Tech and all those guys like Infineon sells a ton of discrete switches. Linear Tech and Maxim sell a ton of controller ICs. And still engineers across many, many companies and markets and continents are using discrete components instead of power modules. And so, we want to get the message to those, no, guys, don't do it that way, do it, this way. And that's getting across the value of doing it that way is really important, because that, as I mentioned, the why change and then why Vicor, it's a big deal for these customers who've done it a different way. I've been very successful doing it a different way, and all of the infrastructure that's there to support the different way. Just think about the supply chains that are set up in a big company like a Ford or a Continental or a NVIDIA or a Google to support, for example, 12-volt components that are used today. Now, the industry is moving to 48 volts and even higher. So there's a whole new supply chain infrastructure that has to be built there, right? It isn't just picking a Vicor product. It's, just think about the complexity of that. So the decision making has gone from 1 or 2 engineers to typically a buying team of 8 to 10 people. And you've got to get them all on your side to make the decision of why change and why Vicor. So it's really complicated and complex. And so you have to come at it from lots of different angles.
And so how successful are, maybe from the last 10 years, are engineer turned marketers at maybe at the copywriting stage, or helping to create the pieces of communication that you use to convey this?
Oh, not very good.
Okay. Okay.
So because engineers, I think, typically, the people that we work with to create, if you like, content. I end up personally, I love writing, so I love doing a bunch of editing, and typically what I get to edit is very product centric. It's all about the product, and it's about amps and volts, and you have to take that and you have to build on that in terms of say, okay, now what problem does that solve, right? What value can that add, and what does the power delivery network look like from your power source all the way to the point of loads and what you've got down here. You've got to somehow convey that power module technology in that space. But talk about it, you got to mention the volts and the amps and a little bit about what it can do, but it's really about changing the way you do things and getting that message across. And typically engineers are not great at that, but as they, in Vicor, as they get more and more involved with creating what we need, they start to grow and develop, and I'm getting less and less editing to do now than I did at the very beginning. It's getting much better, but I would say at the very outset it was not good.
All right. Okay. So I think those are almost all the questions I've had. Just one last question, but it's quite a serious one.
Okay.
So which song best suits your work ethic?
The thing with me is I like all sorts of different music, all the way from the opera, Pavarotti, all the way to, the Who, so, Bruce Springsteen. So if I think about any song, I think anything in terms of a song that has the lyrics, that talk about life and how people and humans, I think, interact with each other. The relationship type of songs, the songs that talk about, love and friendship and happiness and that. And I just love happy songs. I'll pick one from there.
All right.
I will.
All right. Okay, so that's it. And it was nice speaking to you, Phil.
You too, Dilin. You too. Always.
All right.
Yeah, good stuff.
Speaking to you.
Okay. All the best.